plant fam! Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jacqueline. This is my jungle, and today I want to talk to you about all of the plants that used to be considered rare or harder to find, especially when I started collecting like about 2 years ago, longer than that, but honestly didn't start like hardcore really collecting plants until maybe like a year into my journey. So I feel like I was just a plant enthusiast, but now I'm like, you know, consider myself more of a collector. Like I seek out specific plants to add to my collection for a specific reason. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the plants that used to be considered rare that I think are now going to be relabeled for a lot of people moving through this year as common, as well as some plants that I think are going to become not necessarily more common, but you're going to be seeing them popping up. Like the growers are growing them, and so it's kind of like a couple of predictions for what I think, not necessarily trendy plants for the year, because that's a whole different category, but the plants that I think that are going to be coming into a lot of people's collection because they're going to be more readily available. Does that make sense? We'll figure out a better title than that, I swear. So I don't know, I want to start with whatever I have here in front of me. So I have majority of these plants. That's why I chose these plants, so I can show them to you. So if you have anything to add to this list, please feel free to do so once you've watched my whole entire list. Let's get started. What should we start with? Synapsis, maybe? I think that there's so many Synapsis varieties hitting the market right now. I'm actually confused as to how they're coming up with so many different like cultivars and varieties all at once, it feels like, but I'm not mad about it because I love Synapsis and I am a very avid Synapsis collector. So being able to find some of the ones that I would have considered rare a year ago in the nurseries now pretty regularly is exciting for me. And I'm not living in Florida where they just have all the plants all the time. Up in the Northeast, we kind of have to wait a little bit longer, it seems like, for some of these plants to be available. I know that in a lot of other areas of the country, you guys are just happy if you can find a plant that's not dead at your local big box store, and you might not have nurseries, and that's unfortunate, but there's lots of online nurseries that you can purchase from confidently as well that will be carrying these plants for a lot cheaper than what we've seen them for in the past. So, Synapsis. The Jade Synapsis is definitely one that I'm seeing pop up. So, I paid $36.99 for this basket. It had 2 vines in it. One of them died. I don't know why. It was just like, I hate you. This was it. It was barely rooted. But that's fine because I do have other propagations of this plant. And it is kind of a wonky plant, but it did give me all of these new leaves down here that haven't quite hardened off yet. And it's working on 2 new ones. This one just like never unfurled. I don't know. This plant, why do you hate me? Like, I'm just waiting for it to get itself together. The leaves come out weird sometimes. They start reverting as well as they age. I've noticed they tend to get a little silvery, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that I think you're going to be able to find more uncommon Synapsis varieties. I know that a lot of people still don't see Exotica that much, but for those of you who do shop your local nurseries a lot and are looking for these plants, like, I think you're gonna find them, including this one, which is the Synapsis Splash. So, I mean, look at these leaves. They're gorgeous, right? Absolutely stunning. Love the variegation on them. They might look like Exotica, but like, they're not. I promise you. I feel like this one's a lot easier to tell the difference than some of the other varieties, honestly. Like my Silver Lady kind of looks more like an Exotica than this one does, because the variegation is very like, I don't know, like blurry. It looks like paintbrush strokes, doesn't it? So just watered it, so it's got a couple of sad leaves. This was a rescue plant, but I picked this up for $40. This whole entire plant. My cat has nibbled on some of the leaves on the bottom, but it's fine. I have to chop this boy up, giving it a haircut, cutting it all the way to the top here. So all of this down here I'm going to propagate and should have it in my Etsy shop for you guys by springtime. So that's the goal with this plant, because I have another one hanging at David's that you guys have seen. If you watched like any of the videos that we do there, I usually mention it because it's one of my favorites. So this one is more for propagating. That one is more for just our enjoyment, if that makes sense. So yeah, and plus it was a rescue. It was like really cold and dying, and it had been there in the nursery for a while. So I was like, you know what? Let me take it home, because I like to leave plants for other people to find. But then if I come back like weeks later and it's still there and it's looking sad, like, I feel like I have to adopt it. You know what I mean? So if you've been looking for this plant, they're definitely popping up in nurseries. You're probably going to pay $40 for like a small container of it, and not something this big unless you get lucky like I did, and they just probably didn't know what they even had, honestly, because it was just labeled Synapsis. Not even, it's just labeled $39.99. There's no label on it at all. So there's that one. There's a couple of sad leaves that I need to get rid of, but oh, is it because that vine is broken? This vine is broken. I have to cut it. I have it like shoved in the corner. Even though a lot of these leaves are sad, I'm still going to be propagating the nodes, because you still get new growth. Doesn't matter if my cat ate the leaf. We'll get rid of the leaf. We'll keep the node. So I do think that you're going to be seeing these a lot more. I sure as heck have been. So number one on my list are different Synapsis varieties, especially the Jade and the Splash, for sure. Growers are growing them. You are going to see them. The next on my list of plants that used to be more rare or hard to find that you're going to be seeing everywhere is the Philodendron Micans. So for those of us who have been collecting plants for a long time, this is like old news. They have a little, my Totoro trellis in here. I'll link that shop below for you guys if you want to check it out. I unboxed them in a vlog recently, so I don't know. Ooh, tripping. If you don't watch my vlogs and you didn't see it. So here's my Philodendron Micans. Oh my god, this is like one of my favorite plants. It's just like a big, beautiful, velvety curtain of leaves. They definitely start to get straggly. This is a plant that you have to trim pretty often if you want to keep it nice and bushy, because you see all this new growth up in here at the top. And I mean, it's just like bald back here, but it's fine because we just only see this one side. So yeah, I just gave her a sip, and this was, you guys would have saw me repotted a while back. This was like 3 or 4 different plants in one, honestly. So, but they're so cheap now that you can do that. So you're not usually going to find a plant that looks like this in the store already. And if you do, you boo. You get that plant, because they don't usually look like this. So I bought a few different plants and put them all in here together to get this big, beautiful babe. So if you've been looking for a Philodendron Micans and you don't want to buy like a little one online, you want a bigger plant, these are definitely going to be popping up. I mean, we've already seen them popping up in Lowe's. Urban Jungle has them sometimes, even though they're not always the happiest. If you can get a few and rehab them and grow them out for a little while, you'll have a plant like mine in no time. With some dry leaves. It's just part of the process. Yeah, that's my Philodendron Micans curtain. This used to be hard for me to find, so I collected it for like a year, and that's how I ended up with this babe. One of my favorite plants ever. Like ever. I know some people don't like it because if you don't have it climbing, the leaves get smaller, but honestly, I prefer it trailing, and like these leaves don't bother me. I love it. I just keep cutting it and it keeps growing more from the top. So Doesn't bother me. Don't need more plants up on a pole or a plank. I've already got so many, and I really honestly prefer a trailing plant. It's just that some of them need to grow up something, or you get like these little stupid leaves. So another plant that grows kind of straggly that used to be hard to find and now I think is going to be considered really common is the Sibu blue Pothos. I picked this one up for I think like 20 bucks, 18 for this little container. Another straggly plant for sure that you're going to have to cut a lot to get it to just kind of fill out more up here. I have a bigger hanging one over here, but I just didn't want to take it down. So showing you the little baby one that I have, because this one I do actually want to put up on a pole eventually, because I want to see if I can get it to fenestrate. This is one of my favorite plants as well. I love the shape of the leaves. I love the color of the leaves. I love the really subtle veining in the leaves, and I would love to get this one matured and fenestrated. I want to have one trailing and one growing up a pole. Do you feel me? This is one of those plants that I love enough that I'm okay having 2 or 3. Okay, we don't need that many. So Sibu blue Pothos, definitely going to be seeing more of this plant in 2022, like everywhere. So if you're looking for one, just be patient. I promise you that they're gonna be hanging next to the golden Pothos in no time. So the next on my list, we're gonna keep it to things that I think you might find in big box stores, and that's the Mandula Pothos. Mine is up there looking really sad right now, so I'm just gonna leave it there. But you guys have seen David's. I can pop a picture on the screen of his for you right here so you can see how beautiful it is. I tend to neglect mine. His is stunning. Honestly, I'll probably get rid of that one and just keep his when I move in there because we don't need to. Yeah, I've been seeing the Mandula everywhere, and I know that like most people have, but again, this is not necessarily a plant that is easily accessible to everybody and was considered rare a year ago, or like uncommon or hard to find, whatever you want to call it. An actual rare plant is one that is just sparse. There isn't a lot of it. It's hard to propagate it. It grows really slow. Things like that that usually cause a plant to be expensive. That's why rare and expensive tend to go hand in hand. But somewhere we've blurred those lines and now we just use rare to mean uncommon. And I do it all the time just because it's easier in my like titles and stuff. Like nobody's gonna be like uncommon, hard to find plants. Like there's just a lot of words. You know what I mean? So you guys know what I mean when I say rare plants. It's just harder to find plants are going to be easier to find. Do you feel me? That's just kind of the cycle of the market, like any other supply and demand chain. Another plant that I don't have a lot of that I think is going to be considered common very, very soon because I see it everywhere now when I used to hunt for it actively, and it is the Monserratspicana. So don't laugh at me. All I have is a cup of nodes that have a bunch of baby leaves. So you guys know what this plant looks like. It gets these cute little, look how tiny these leaves are. This cute little like silvery coloring on it. This is just a Starbucks cup that I used to throw a bunch of nodes in. And yeah, this is my Siltepecana now. The rest of them did not do well after the thrips. I gave up on them. They just were too far gone, and I kept trying to save them, and so nodes. A great way to start over with a plant. So I gotta take this out and like plop it into some soil because it's hitting the top, but Monserratspicana, I definitely think that this is going to be a plant that we are considering to be more common by the end of this year. I think you're going to see it everywhere. Okay, let's see. Another plant that I think you're going to see popping up is the Philodendron Silver Stripe. Look at how beautiful these leaves are. So I picked this one up at Rose Hill a while back, and it's doing really well. I don't remember how much I paid for it. I don't actually know if she even charged me for it. It might have just been some cuttings that she was propagating, so she just gave them to me, and they've flourished. Absolutely flourished. I keep it in the greenhouse because she's a thirsty one, so I keep her in a tray of water, and I just dump water in there for her and my Gloriosum because she's thirsty too. And they drink the water together, they hang out, and they're doing really well. So I'm going to give you guys a tour of all my philodendrons soon because I have to repot a bunch of them anyway, so stay tuned if you want to see that. But silver stripe philodendron is definitely one that I'm seeing pop up. A lot of people have gotten their hands on this plant. A lot of people are growing it. A lot of people are propagating it. If you're looking for it, you should be able to find it for a good price this year. Same can't be said for the Rio or the Gabby, but you can definitely find the silver stripe. It's not as creamy as some of the other ones, but you do get this like really nice little subtle creamy color with this nice sage green in there on the leaves that I enjoy. So it's different. Not that much different, honestly, from the Brazil. From a distance, it just seems more creamy. But I like creamy variegation, so. Silver stripe, definitely think you're going to see these. I've been seeing them go for like between $20 and $30 in small containers like this, so. And if you're in the New York area, you can just pop over to Rose Hill. She usually has these. She has a hanging basket of it too. I don't know if anybody's bought it yet, but it's been sitting there for a while. So another plant that I think is going to be really popular this year are Hamalinas. I don't know, but I have this one on my wish list for a while. This is the Hoya Selby, and when I saw it in Home Depot for $12.98, I had to get it. But I have been seeing them pop up in nurseries a lot too, and I've just been seeing this particular genus becoming one of interest. And I love the variegation on these leaves. I don't know about you guys. You might think that it's not very special, but I think it's really cool and really subtle and really interesting. Very thirsty plant, but she'll let you know. Like, she went from being turgid at night to me waking up to her completely limp in the morning. I was like, oh, how did that happen? I was like touching her leaves the night before, and I was like, oh, she feels good. Like, she's nice and firm. The leaves are thick. Like, they're not delicate leaves. She's just thirsty. So keep it in something that you can just dump water into. And then the terracotta helps absorb excess water too, which is helpful. So it's not just like sitting in water that it doesn't need. So she's pretty happy in this situation. And there's a few other, I think, Willisii that are on my wish list. So I definitely think that these are becoming more popular. I think this is a really great alternative to Dieffenbachias that I can't have because my cat eats my plants. So for me, this gives me kind of like the similar vibe of like the patterning of the leaves that I like on Dieffenbachias. These are nice and matted, which I enjoy, without the poisonous nature of Dieffenbachias. I don't know if this one is pet safe or not, but I mean, my cat nibbles on lots of things, but the Dieffenbachias, like, I keep him away from certain ones that I know are worse than others. Like, he nibbles on Pothos here and there, and he's fine. Like, he might get an upset stomach from it, but he's fine. And obviously, I'm not welcoming him to nibble on the plants, but like he did to my Synapsis that I showed you earlier, it's not that big of a deal. So, but don't quote me on it. You do you, boo. You know what I mean? Everybody's allowed to parent their pets the way that they choose. Super pretty. Like, I don't know. If you disagree with me, that's fine, but I really love the variegation on these leaves. So I think that you're going to be seeing a lot more Hamalinas popping up in the nurseries. I don't know if this was necessarily uncommon. It was definitely not something that I saw before that I'm seeing a lot of now. So the growers are growing them, and I think that they're going to be one of those plants that a lot of people just kind of add to their collection this year. If you're into plants that like a lot of water, which I'm not, but this one's, it doesn't like die. It's not that fussy. Like, it's not going to throw a fit and drop a bunch of leaves if you forget to water it. it's just gonna look really sad for like an hour until it soaks up the water. So kind of reminds me of a photonia, so you don't want to allow it to happen all the time because the plant will eventually die. They just kind of run out of energy from like resurrecting themselves over and over again, which like understandable. So I try to at least remember to throw water at it every couple of days. So it's in a place where it's convenient for me to do that. That's something that I recommend with your thirsty plants, and I'm definitely going to do a video about that. I've just been a little behind, okay? So before I forget, I wanted to show you my new hoodie. You'll see it in a vlog. I unbox it and yada yada with you, but I wanted to show it to you today because I actually let my, or I asked my Plant Fam members in our private group chat if you want to be a part of the members only club, you can join down below. I asked them which one I should get and they picked this one. So good choice, guys. I like it. They like the graphic and I do too, with the astronaut and the Monstera. I'm really tired, okay? And there's a snowstorm coming, so I'm trying to like get these things done and head up to David's because I'd rather get snowed in for the weekend with him since my job closed for tomorrow, so there's no point in me being here. Anyway, moving on. The next plant that used to be hard to find, that is everywhere now, is, okay, don't judge me, it's really sad right now, I just watered it. The Alocasia Black Velvet. You can get these for really cheap now. This is a bad representation. Like, when she was in her prime, she was beautiful, let me tell you. But I took her out of the greenhouse, and that was the biggest mistake I ever made. But they're really cheap, and they're everywhere now, so it's fine. Like, I'll just get another one if I can't bring this one back to life. She's got one leaf left. But she has good roots, so maybe. We don't know. Maybe. Tried to bring her out into the degular world, and she was just like, no, bitch, you forgot to water me. I like to keep them in the greenhouse because they're thirsty. They're not super thirsty, but they're thirsty enough that they like to stay like pretty moist. They don't want to get too dried out. So in the greenhouse, I don't have to water them as much because it stays humid and more moist in there. So if you struggle with plants like this, a greenhouse situation is definitely going to be your friend. Some kind of cabinet where you can still see them is ideal, but they're everywhere. I see them at Home Depot now, so. Alocasia Black Velvet. Definitely think that we are going to be calling that common from now on. There's a couple of Hoyas that I think are, I mean, there's a lot of Hoyas, honestly. If I could do a whole separate video for Hoya collectors on all of the Hoyas that I think are going to be more readily available this year than they were in previous years or were considered rare or uncommon or harder to find Hoyas in the past that are just everywhere now. And one of those is definitely the Hoya species Affinity Bertoniae. So, I mean, they're in Home Depot, but I'm seeing the growers growing them too, so they're at the local nurseries as well, where they're probably going to be much happier and healthier. But this is mine. I grew her from like just these little baby leaves down here. So she's putting out lots of new vines. I mean, it's taken her a long time, but now that her roots have filled up her little pot, she's definitely taking off. So I am doing a video about that too, I swear, like just a Hoya general care, how to get them to grow and bloom and all of that stuff for you much faster, how to root them and get them growing, all my tips and tricks pretty much to growing happy, healthy Hoyas and having them grow because they're slow as shit sometimes. So definitely think you're going to be seeing this one pop up everywhere, as well as the Hoya Linearist. Mine's looking a little sad right now. I had to spray her for mealybugs, so she needs a bounce back. But this is like multiple cuttings that I've gotten from different people over the years, all potted up into this cute little terracotta. She's definitely a thirsty one, and she's fuzzy though, so I love her. I remember when I unboxed her, I freaked out because I was like, nobody told me it was a fuzzy. Hoya Linearist. I don't think you're going to be seeing this in big box stores anytime soon, but these are definitely popping up in the nurseries, especially like any place that carries rare plants. These will be there. So if you're looking, be patient. These are definitely going to be more readily available, as well as a whole bunch of other Hoyas. We can talk about it in the comments if you want to, but those are the ones I wanted to focus on for this video that I think you're going to be seeing a lot of. And even like the variegated Wayettii that I have here, I think this one's going to be popping up a lot as well. Just saying. The next couple of plants are ones that I think you're going to be seeing in your nurseries a lot. But who knows? You never know with Costa Farms. They might start just carrying Philodendron Silver Sword, because I'm seeing people grow them and they are definitely rolling them out. There's plenty. I mean, it's a philodendron, so it does this annoying thing that philodendrons do and comes out kind of weird sometimes, but I need to attach her to something so that her leaves can get a little bit bigger. But I grew this from a cutting that somebody sent me a long time ago, and I struggled with this. Like, it rooted, but it wasn't growing, and then I finally potted it up, and I was afraid that it wasn't going to do anything. But I just keep this in my regular ambient humidity in a bright window, and I mean, it's doing fine. The leaves definitely are still immature. They change shape as they mature, but she's cute, and I've been seeing them a lot. So if you've been looking for this one, I think that this year is going to be your year that you can find one of these for a good price at a local nursery. And like I said, I don't know what Costa Farms has up their sleeves, but that's a plant that I could see them carrying and growing for their Trending Tropicals line. But I don't know, because I don't work for Costa Farms, nor do I talk to Costa Farms. Not willingly, anyway, just when they comment on my channel after I've mildly trash talked them. Anyway, that's not the point. The next plant that I think is going to be in everybody's collection this year is the Epipremnum ponatum albovaragata. Is it albo or is it just variegata? I don't know, honestly. This is the largest leaf that I have propagating. I have another plant over here. It's just got really long runner with baby leaves on it, so I figured I'd show you the cute one. Because, I mean, it's an Epipremnum, you guys, so it grows like crazy. It's super easy to root. You can see the roots that I have in there. It's been in this cup of moss for a while, but honestly, one of the easiest plants. I love it. And I think it's super underrated, and I am seeing it pop up a lot in local nurseries and just everywhere, honestly. It seems like everyone is getting their hands on this plant now, so I feel like if you want it, this is your year to get it. You can get it for a good price. I don't think they're going to be having it in big box stores anytime soon, but local nurseries, for sure, I think are going to be carrying that plant, and I love it. I'm a huge Pothos collector, so I mean, and it's variegated. It's got just the kind of variegation that I like too, which is just unpredictable. So every leaf that you get is different. You get these beautiful sage greens, you get little creamy splashes, and it'll start to fenestrate. You'll get little holes down here. It fenestrates a lot easier than like the Sibu blue and stuff like that. That is also an Epipremnum ponatum. So these two are related. This one's the Sibu blue variety, and this is the variegated variety. So what next? Silver sword, Epipremnum. Oh, I didn't take it out of my propagation box. I'm gonna have to post a picture of it for you guys here because I do not want to dig it out of my box. But the last plant that I think is going to be super common this year is the Monstera stanziliana albovaragata. So I'll show you a photo of mine. I've been propagating it. It's in my prop box going crazy. This plant grows like crazy. So does the Epipremnum that I just showed you. That's why I think that it's really easy for the growers to grow. They definitely are growing them. So come springtime, I think you're going to see a huge influx of these plants, and probably lots of others that are not on this list. But like I said, leave your predictions down below, what plants you think the growers are growing and are going to hit the market come spring, and what plants you think I left off of this list that used to be considered rare that are more common now than anything else. And yeah, what plants do you think are going to be trendy this year as well? We can have that conversation. That's not really my wheelhouse. Like, I'm not super into trendy plants. Like, we all fall victim to trends sometimes when you're bombarded with a plant enough, and if you've never seen it before, you're gonna be like, well, yeah, now I need that plant because it's beautiful. But I don't just buy plants purely for the sake of them being trendy, unless it's to grow them, to propagate them, to sell them, because I'm aware that they are desired in the market, but not necessarily desired by me, like my pink princess, which is actually beautiful. Like, the variegation on that particular specimen is stunning. Like, it's all up the stems. You could see like pink swirls. So we'll see what happens with that one, because I don't particularly love growing those types of philodendrons. They kind of just, they grow all wonky. It's weird. Why do they grow like this? This one's not as bad, but anyway, this one's more of a climber anyway. So that's my list. I think that you guys are going to be pretty pleased with the plant market this year, honestly. I think the prices are coming down, and I think that things are more readily available, and that all of our collections will probably be changing and growing. I know that I love to bring in new plants and get rid of old ones all the time, so I'm excited to see what else the market has to offer this year that I didn't think of. So I like to think I have my finger on the pulse, just like even just a tiny bit, just purely because I shop so much. But realistically, I have no idea. I'm not a grower. I don't know what's going on. So, but they follow the trends. So I'm gonna go now, you guys, because I've got so many other things to do, but I just wanted to quickly film this with you, discuss some of these things with you, and open up the conversation and see what you guys have to say. So if you like this video and you want to see more like it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything from me. Your phone will notify you, be like, hey, Jacqueline's Jungle, woo, you know. That's not what your phone is going to say to you. But there's a join button as well. David and I started a second channel, so you guys can subscribe to that if you want to. We are going to be making content soon, but we wanted to make it available for you guys to subscribe to so you can get the notification when we do upload something. And yeah, we're excited about that new venture, so keep your eyes open for that. I don't really know. I don't know what I'm talking about, you guys. I'm gonna go. If you watched this whole entire video, leave me some cat emojis. I mean, this is Gigi from Studio Ghibli, and I showed you my Totoro down there, so tell me what your favorite Studio Ghibli movie is, too. I love that. I love having that conversation. Let me know if you know what my favorite Studio Ghibli movie is. I have a tattoo of my favorite one, so I don't think you guys have actually seen it, though, because it's on my back. But anyway, I'm gonna go. I love you, fam, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!